Hey, it's Bree. I hope you're having a good one. It is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. It is Inauguration Day here in the US, for those of you who live here. And I've been sitting at home and mostly doing nothing all day. I've been doing a lot of food prep, hanging out with the kiddo because everybody's got the day off, and mostly just sitting in quiet, which I think has been good for me. But the whole house is quiet right now because everybody's gone to sleep early because they're not feeling great, which is sad for them, but I never get to stay up by myself alone. It's like unheard of. I'm always like the second to bed. It's the kid goes to bed, then I go to bed. And so for the first time in maybe 3 years, I am up latest. And to be clear, latest means 8 o'clock. I took a break, washed my hair, took a bath. I feel phenomenal. I have some chamomile tea in my snail mug. The cats are in the background. And so I was going to talk to you about some stories. If you were anything like me, you've been ignoring the world for the last week, probably. And I frankly intend to ignore it for a little while longer. I've been reading only cozy things, but the time comes for us to stop reading cozy things. And I wanted to give you some books that might make you feel a little sane, that might echo some of the frustrations I think a lot of us are having, a lot of the difficulties we are having moving through the world right now. For some context, and I know it probably sounds obnoxious every time I say this, I have a master's degree in political science with an emphasis in political theology. Ooh, no, that's totally different. Political philosophy, excuse me. And so I think about this kind of stuff a lot. You'll see it in a lot of my different reviews. And I wanted to highlight some books that might make you feel like things have always been complicated. They might help you feel like, I don't know, things might not always be this bad. They might help you feel like your frustration is valid. And all of those things are good things, even when they are not positive feelings. So I have 5 books that I've pulled off my shelf. There are, of course, hundreds and hundreds of books in the category of like political and revolutionary feeling, right? I tried to pull things that I haven't seen on anybody's lists right now, and that I think maybe don't get as much play in the conversation about the rise of fascism. Some of these might be books that you've read, but enough with the caveats. I think we can get into it. The first book I picked was A Canticle for Leibowitz. This is by Walter M. Miller Jr. and is a long-standing classic. This is the story of a brother, a monk, who is living after the nuclear apocalypse. There's been a huge decline in all of technology, and he's kind of wandering through the desert trying to figure out what has been before him. And it kind of flashes back between him and what happened as he kind of uncovers basically like some fundamental truths, in quotations, of course, around humanity. This is a really classic read, and I think is a great foundation for kind of the conversation about what does it mean to move forward when you know that the past was bad. In keeping with classics, I also pulled my favorite Le Guin. This is not the Le Guin you're going to see, I think, on a lot of different lists. I think right now people will probably be looking to The Dispossessed, but this is a book called The Word for World is Forest. It is my favorite Ursula Le Guin. And this is about a planet where basically humans show up and disrupt the native culture and the native life. It's about colonialism and imperialism, and about kind of what happens to people in the wake of that, about the rage that they feel and the way that that conflict plays out. I think this is really important as a work that gives context to a lot of frustration for people. And dear God, Le Guin just does it beautifully. What can I say? I will I'm sure I've recommended this to you 100 times, but I will always recommend it again. The 3 books I have next are newer books. They're not new as in like out in the last, I don't know what, 5 years. God, I think the newest copyright in here might be 2017. Ooh, 2015. 2015, I think, is the newest copyright in here. So I have Johannes Sinisalo's The Core of the Sun. This is brutal. This is the kind of book that will hurt when you read it. It is about a version of Finland that is going through essentially the rise of fascism and a hard turn to the right. I think it has just a ton of parallels to what people are seeing and feeling these days. This will make you cry. They're good tears. They're thoughtful tears, but this will make you cry. I have Luna New Moon. This was a little bit of an odd one, I think, to include because it feels adventure serially. But this is Ian MacDonald's response to The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, which, if you know anything about The Moon is a Harsh Mistress by Robert Heinlein, is a foundational piece in libertarianism. It's huge as kind of a building block in that line of thought and as kind of this exemplar of what a world could be. And Luna New Moon looks at what libertarianism is for the least among us. What does it look like when capitalism takes over and kind of has no reins put on it? This is less brutal. This is, I think, a much more fun read. But it is a world where people are like paying for the air they breathe. And I think that that's important to think about, especially in the context of some of the men in power right now who look at those kind of Heinlein-esque models and say, without any critical thought, that that's what we should be living in. Phenomenally written, phenomenally paced. Like, this is probably the lightest of the reads. Because the last book is the book of the Unnamed Midwife by Meg Ellison. And if you have, this is a book that should come with all of the content warnings. There is sexual assault, there is forced birth, there is a lot of abuse. But this is a version of the world where women are seen as walking uteruses in a lot of ways, and this woman who is moving through that world and trying to do better, who's lived in the before time and is trying to, make sure that the women around her have access to care that they need because she was a midwife, she was a nurse, she was, I don't know if she was an actual OB at the time. It's been a little while since I read this one, but this is a heavy read. I questioned whether to include it on this one, but I think it is a worthwhile read. And if you have the spoons to sit with a kind of book that will make you ugly cry and feel uncomfortable and really hurt, this is one you should read. Anyway, I don't know. Don't feel like you have to read a heavy book right now. The world sucks. But when you're ready, I've got books for you. I see you. You're doing your best. Keep it up.